Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. I just wanted to talk a little bit about should you join the military. Now, look, I get it. Most of you, actually, probably all of you, who are watching this channel either already served, you're a veteran, maybe you might still be in the reserves, maybe you're getting ready to transition out, or maybe you're the spouse or dependent of a veteran. And I appreciate all that support very much. This is the question that some people are actually asking, either internally or externally. Should I join the military? And I will tell you that we, the group of veterans and reservists and National Guard members and even spouses and dependents, transitioning military members, we are the ones with the answers to that. Now, those answers are going to be, from way over here to way over here. So there's, you're still not going to get a straight, concise, solid one kind of approach to this. It's going to be all over the board. But what I would love to see in the comments are maybe a couple pros and a couple cons to joining the military. So, not paragraphs. You don't need to do paragraphs. Just a couple quick liners, right? On why somebody should consider joining the military, as I kind of babble along here with kind of my own thoughts. And then I'll lay out some pros and cons to joining the military. Now, when I think about someone coming to me or I'm having a conversation with someone about joining the military, typically that question is coming because there's not much direction in their lives, right? So they're somebody younger or even a little bit older. They could be mid-20s. They could be almost 30. So old for joining the military. And even if they're asking that question, it's because they are not satisfied with where they are, where they're projecting themselves to be, and there's not much maybe direction on any of that, and meaning, right? The older we get too, I think that there is a little bit of a desire for meaning in what you do, right? And if you can create that and you can have some meaning and purpose behind what you're doing, it makes your life a little more fulfilled. So some people will look at the military as a way to kind of quench that thirst of meaning and all of that. So there is that piece to it. Now, in my conversations with folks, it is really, do not join the reserves up front. Do that as an after kind of thing, if you will. But first, join active duty and just do it. Just go active duty. That's the right thing to do for a multitude of reasons. One, you're not going to be trained the way that you need to be trained, only being in the reserves. It's a whole different animal when you just submerge yourself in it. Whatever your job field is, doesn't matter. When you're doing it as your day-to-day, this is now your life, it's a way different approach than the 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year. And that just makes sense. So ideally, what I would envision, in as far as our military is concerned, is that, and unfortunately it doesn't happen this way, but it would be great if everybody who was active duty, you had to have active duty before you could become reserves, and then that would create a very solid reserve force. And I was in both, so I'm speaking from the level of I was on both sides. So I was active duty Marine Corps, infantry, mortars. Then I went to reserves, Army National Guard, mortars. So mortars to mortars, and I got to see kind of both sides of that coin. Now, my first suggestion would be, if you're considering it and you're going to do it, go active duty first. And then with active duty, I even double down even more and I say, look, if you're going to do 4, you might as well do 6. Put in for 6. See what your recruiter can do for you with regard to, an additional rank after, graduating, whatever, boot camp or your MOS school or AFSC school or whatever it is. See if you can get an extra rank out of that. And the reason is a couplefold. One is you can potentially get, a better bonus. You could potentially get a higher rank earlier on, which are great things. But the other piece is that from an age standpoint, for those who are younger, your attitude would shift a lot over those last couple of years and may change the direction you decide to go. So, in other words, you're going to make probably wiser decisions if you were considering where you're going to do, or where you're going to go, what you're going to do after a 6-year contract versus a 4-year contract. It's easier to walk away from 4 years than it is from 6. So, and plus the age aspect, you maybe got another rank in, and your life has a different trajectory at that point. So those are my couple suggestions on that. Now, when it comes to job type, there's two versions, right? We have two versions. We have the smart us and we have the gung ho us. And the smart us says, hey, I need to pick a job that is something that I can utilize even when I'm out. Something that's going to be, high demand, pays good, something that I can really see moving on into the future, right? I want to be cybersecurity or whatever it is, right? So there's the smart you with that. Then there's the other you, which is, I want to go, whatever. I want to be special ops in whatever branch, or I want to go infantry, or I want to go be a ranger, or I want to go be a PJ, or pilot, or whatever it is, and you want to do something that's just hard charging, right? So that's a hard one, right? Because there are these things in life, these little check marks that do create some sort of, you're creating this life of, self-achievements, right? It's not like you need to run around and share it with the world. It's just, hey, I've been there, I've done that, and there is something to that. I'll say that me joining the Marine Corps and going infantry was really searching for the check marks in life. It was definitely not the smart me going, let me pick a job that's really going to get me, what's going to benefit me 20 years from now. That wasn't my idea. So, do I regret it? Again, it's one of these, you're going to be kind of 50-50 on that typically, because you're going to look at it and go, but I got that check mark. Would I give that check mark up in my life as in accomplishments? Or would I rather take that check mark and put it over here on smart decision, and I'm having this wonderful, whatever future trajectory? That's a hard one. And really you have to grapple with that a little bit, I think, to decide kind of the what's important to you. It's easy to say, pick the job that's smart and all of that type of stuff. And that might be, right, the smarter way to go, but that's a personal decision. Don't let anybody, talk you into anything. Take what people say and think about it and mull it over and really chew on it some. At the end of the day, you are joining the military and you're going to get some hard charging kind of experiences and all of that just through it anyway. So you're doing more than most if you're just even joining the military, regardless of what MOS it is. So you will fulfill some of that check mark. There's always going to be, no matter what you do, somebody who's bigger, badder, better, something that's more hard charging, something that's more crazy than the next. So a fast story. So I went, when I was whatever age I was, 18, I guess, I went to the Navy recruiter and I said, hey, what's it take to go SEALs, right? How do I go become a SEAL? And basically, they explained buds and all that stuff you try out. And I said, okay, well, what happens if you don't make it? And they said, well, we basically just put you wherever we need you. And I thought to myself, well, I don't really want to be hanging off the side of a ship chipping paint, and I don't want to be a cook. So the odds are that I'm going to fail, even though I don't want to. But, I'm very much a plan A, plan B type of a person. So I need to kind of be good with either one of those. So I said, okay, well, thanks. So then I walked over to the Marine Corps and I said, hey, can you use my ASVAB score from the Navy? And they said, yeah, heck yeah, we can. I said, thanks. That's great. What's it take to go recon? At that time, recon was essentially their operators at that point. So now there's MARSOC, but anyway, this is years ago. So recon, what's it take? And they said, well, basically you sign up infantry, and then from infantry, eventually an indoct will roll around and you try out, and if you make it, great. Okay, cool. So, and if I don't, well, I just stay infantry because I signed up infantry and I'm already infantry, right? And they said, yep. And I said, great. Well, at least I know what I'm doing. Sign me up for infantry. So they signed me up for infantry. And then that's when I, through School of Infantry, which is the Marine Corps schoolhouse, that's where they determine what kind of segment of infantry you fall into. And so that's where I got my mortars designation and went from there. So anyway, the whole idea here is put some thought into what you want to do. Now, what are some pros and cons? Let's talk about some pros and cons of the military. Well, some of the right off the top kind of pros, I guess, are you're taken care of, right? You to a sense. I mean, I think we all have our own stories of that, but I mean, the idea of, if you break your arm, you're going to go get your arm fixed. You're going to go get some chow, right? You're going to eat, you're going to have a place to sleep. Obviously things are different, in combat situations. So let's just pull back from the combat kind of theater operations and just go, okay, garrison. So garrison, you have your barracks, right? You're sharing rooms, maybe, unless you're in the Air Force, and then you could probably get your own room. And you have all of your bills are essentially paid. I mean, you're not paying for electricity, you're not paying for your garbage bill, you're not paying for a gas bill for your house. You're not paying rent. You have a card to go eat at the whatever that's called, some people say DFAC, some people say mess hall, whatever it is, right? So, but you can go eat. So all of that stuff's covered and pretty turnkey. You just show up and it's like living at crazy Uncle Gary's house. So there's some pros there. The bigger pros than that are your benefits, like your education benefits, your post 9/11 GI Bill. Okay, that's a big benefit. The fact that you can get a home loan while you're in service, even through the VA home loan program, is a huge benefit, where you could purchase a home with no money down. Big benefit for veterans. There's no other organization out there that will take care of you when it works right. Like this, in the sense of anything that goes wrong with you during your time in service, you're going to be able to essentially file claims with the VA for any sort of aggravated or conditions that were realized during your time in service, right? Whether it's severe GERD, migraines, issues from broken bones. Maybe there's some residual, impacts. Anything that you have that's chronic in nature has some sort of a residual impact. So the military will chew you up some, right? It will chew you up. It's kind of like dog years. And, the cons are that does happen. Veterans on average are going to realize conditions at a earlier onset than the civilian counterpart. So your body's going to deteriorate. You're going to have some issues. When you look at people that overly exert themselves, their bodies tend to erode quicker. Okay, that's going to happen. The fact that you're going to get and take so many different things, you're going to get a bunch of different shots. You're going to take malaria pills. You're going to whatever. You're going to put in earplugs that don't work. All of these things are going to have some sort of negative impact. So I would say that those are some of the bigger cons, if you will. Then you have the home life aspects in the sense of maybe you have to deploy and it's a solo trip, right? You can't bring your family on a deployment, even non-combat areas where you're just being on a deploy, like for the Marine Corps, for example, Japan, right? So you're going to Camp Schwab. For those that know, pretty fantastic. It's not like you're bringing your spouse with you or your kids. You're just going there and you're going to be there for at least 6 months and then you're going to come back. And so you're going to miss things in life. You're going to miss maybe the birth of a child, right? Hopefully you don't miss the pregnancy. Anyway, so there's all of those types of, I guess, issues that will arise, right? It can be taxing, even in garrison, even back in the United States where you're living maybe off base with your spouse and everything's great. You're going to get, you're going to go out into the field and you're going to go train for whatever, 2 weeks. And so you're gone, right? And so that creates some hardship, right? And it's not just the one time that causes the problem, right? It's the over and the over and the over and the over again aspects where then like resentment and those types of things start to build up. So it's hard on a relationship and it really needs to be understood from both parties in the relationship, how taxing it can be on a relationship. So you need to be prepared for that. I would say the only other thing that I would really say here when considering the military is if you join the military as an enlisted person, okay, I would again suggest 6 years because it gives you a different frame of thought at the end of that. During that 6 years, if you're picking a position that's going to really help you in your civilian life with a job doing X, right? Then what you should do while you're in is you should try to knock out your degree while you're in. Get your bachelor's done while you're in. So now you got 6 years time. You're going to utilize tuition assistance. You're going to try to knock out your degree and whatever it is that really dovetails nicely with the job that you have selected. And now, as you get close to that 6-year period, now you have some real decisions to make. Because now you have 6 years experience doing X, you're a veteran, and you have a degree in whatever it is, and now you're pretty marketable and you can go land a great job. And you could do that. Or you could stay in. Now, if you're going to stay in, now comes the question of, well, I have my bachelor's degree. Should I try to go the officer route? Right? Because at the end of the day, I mean, you would much rather have a healthy retirement. Now, I'm not going to say the officer role is not for everybody. Like for me personally, not really for me so much. I couldn't. So I could though. I started to go down that path of warrant officer. So warrant officer might be a plan. So consider your options and make the appropriate moves early on. The earlier, the better. Boom, you got 6 years in, you're getting ready to re-enlist, you're trying to decide what you're going to do, you have a bachelor's degree, you have, solid marks, you've progressed up the ranks. So now, do you decide to get out and leverage that experience? Do you try to go OCS? Do you try to become a warrant officer, go WOCS? Or do you stay enlisted and climb that? No matter which way you go, I mean, it's all great. but make the right moves for you. Do the things that will fulfill you, right? There is a lot to be said. My oldest son, he worked in the restaurant industry, different roles for about 5 or 6 years, until I think he was 24. And when he was 24, COVID was already going on. The hours were cut back, all of this type of stuff. And all of a sudden, there was some pain. And so joining the military became an option, a real viable option. And he chose to go ahead and do that. He joined the Air Force. And after he got in, dust settled, all of that stuff. He looks back and he thinks, wow, this is pretty great. This is a fantastic opportunity. And he really enjoys all of the aspects of it. And I think that part of it is he worked for 5 or 6 years prior, like 6 days a week, thankless job. Didn't really see much at the end of the road with it, and really felt like, he needed to do something bigger and better. And the time was right. And I think that his maturity helped him view his experience in the military differently than an 18-year-old who just graduated high school, still living at home with the parents, and joined the military and now went to the military. The person who hasn't had to hold down a job, pay bills, that type of stuff, work 6 days a week, wake up early, get to work 12 hours, come home, whatever type of job it is. If you didn't do that and then you get thrown into that, you think to yourself, wow, man, this is horrible. They make me work so much. They make me wake up early, all of these things. And the reality is that that's life. You're going to have to do that. You're going to get a job somewhere and you're going to have to show up somewhere. So I think that him having to do that for all of those years prior gave him a different perspective, and he views it as a very, I guess, easy path. It's very clear what he needs to do. I need to do this, this, and this, and I need to excel here, here, and here. And if I do that, I get promoted here. And if I continue to do that, you can see the map. It's very clear. And as long as you're not, poking yourself in the eye every 4 seconds because, you're thinking to yourself that, they're making you work too much, you can really see that clear path. And I would say that, and I'll leave it on this, that for an individual who joins the military, whatever branch, and does 6 years and knocks out their degree during that 6 years, after that 6 years, you have a ton of different viable options for a very successful life. And at that point, it's just making the right decisions for you, whether you stay in, enlisted, go warrant, go full officer, or bounce out and utilize that experience in the civilian sector. It's really fast tracking your whole world, I think. So I think that the pros personally outweigh the cons currently. Who knows? My view could change on that within a matter of a month. So, but right now, I still think that the military is a place where folks can really get focused in, create a really nice trajectory, and can do that in a very short period of time, and then leverage benefits such as their tuition assistance while they're in, utilize the home loan when they get out, or even when they're in and purchase a place, and then turn around and utilize their post 9/11 after the fact. So there's a lot of potential if you pull the right levers and push the right buttons at the right time. With that, thanks for watching. I appreciate you very much. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.